Imagine with me just for a minute that you live in a place that is tucked at the foot of a large mountain range, and that this place has a history of high strangeness and a history of unexplained phenomena. A place where people go in at night and tend to stay put until sun breaks the next day. A place where people purposely close their curtains, sometimes going to the extent of pinning those curtains shut. A place that is surrounded by vast swaths of wilderness. And then one day you hear a report of a neighbor having an encounter with a creature, an unknown creature, a creature that is very huge, covered in black hair, looking somewhat like an ape, looking somewhat like a man. And then the next day you hear of yet another encounter. Then later you hear of an encounter just a few miles away from your house. And then late one night, as you prepare to go to sleep, you turn off the lights. From the woods behind your house, you hear this ungodly, unearthly howl that has such volume that it pierces the windows of your home. Then you find huge footprints in your garden. And then you see the creature yourself. See, this was and still is the legacy of the South Mountains of Western North Carolina, especially the time period 1978 to 1979, a time period that was intensely packed with a variety of different encounters with different creatures. You see, multiple people came forward and made reports of such encounters, but many untold others never stepped forward to tell their story. We know this. There was at least one tall hominid creature covered in black hair, walking on 2 feet, stalking the area, both by day and by night. And that simultaneously, there was a large black mountain panther roaming the area. But then there was evidence of a mystery creature. This mystery creature that left huge footprints, paw prints the size of a man's hand, and these paw prints bore the characteristics of being canine, but also having a few odd characteristics that may even seem to be strangely feline. Could these have been the tracks of the creature that a lady saw one morning at 10 a.m. here near Kaiser, North Carolina? She approached it. She thought she was looking at a large black dog, and as she got closer and slowed down, this creature, walking on all fours, was so large that it was able to look in her window flat-footed at her. At the time, she told her husband, shortly after having the encounter, she said, "I just seen a monster." And later on, she would go on record as saying it looked like something out of a horror movie. Then there was the hunter, who loved hunting so much that he was willing to do it illegally. He had an encounter, and he swore off hunting the rest of his life. As a matter of fact, he didn't go into the woods anymore. A mountain woman, born and bred here, in her 80s. She knew about the wildlife in this area. But she had an encounter with this creature, and the creature stared her down. She never again once went outside unless she was armed with her shotgun. Before I get to the theories and the thoughts, I want to talk about the classification of folks that I call the know-it-alls. You know, folks whose words and action screams, "Hey world, I've got everything figured out. I've got all the answers." You see, there's this category of people that absolutely need everything to be explained by answers that can only be found in this neatly little arrogantly constructed box. And this box is premised on the false supposition that we just have everything figured out. See, some people embrace the unexplained as just that, the unexplained, but other people's embrace the opportunity to try to explain every single thing from our limited base of knowledge as humans. And we know that this limited base of knowledge falls far, far short when it comes to a lot of things in this world and of things that are not of this world. Now, eyewitnesses during this time period of 78 to 79, but before and since, lived in this area, and bears are a regular part of life here. Especially now with game cameras, we see bears a lot. But our eyewitnesses, so many of them went on record as specifically saying that they did not see a bear, that they knew what a bear looked like, and that's not what they saw. Yet the game wardens, and we've got to throw in the ivory tower academics, declared that bears explained everything and still explain everything. And let's face facts. These authority figures and academics and the like have always kind of treated country people, especially hill folks, as though just an ignorant and superstitious people, and nothing could be further from the truth. There was one folklorist, and at the time that all this was happening, stated, and I quote, "Rural people bringing forth these kind of myths are to blame for this." The same egghead folklorist from Chapel Hill, I might add, said it's all in these people's minds. And then it turns into gossip. Yeah, I know for a fact that gossip doesn't scream and howl in the dead of night. I know that gossip doesn't have red eyes that look through your window at you when you're trying to be in the privacy of your home. I know that gossip doesn't break the necks of animals. But then there was this local explanation that somehow burst its way onto the scene, and it was this, that during this particular time period of 78 to 79, that some mountain person who was making liquor came up with this hoax and perpetrated this hoax all over this area to try to keep people, quote, away from their liquor still. And I'll have to admit, it amuses me, or as we say here in the country, it tickles me, that no less than 6 different people have talked to me and said it was their granddaddy who was that bootlegger that made up this hoax and that did all of these things to try to scare people. 6 different people from 6 different areas of the South Mountains. So somebody got some splaining to do there. And then there was this dude who claimed that he cracked the case wide open, that he conveniently found a costume in a man's closet over on the other side of the South Mountains. And the trouble is that I saw this costume in the Shield Museum in Gastonia, North Carolina. It didn't match the descriptions. Makes you wonder. Now, never mind that the Sherlock Holmes explanation and the my grandpappy hoaxed it so he wouldn't get caught making liquor explanations don't account for the previous history of this type of thing and the history since. So with that out of my system, I'll just say what I think. I think that the upright creature or creatures was a younger Sasquatch type of creature. Maybe it went rogue. Maybe it got kicked out of its pack or its clan. 6, 7 feet tall, around 300 pounds, leaving footprints that were about 14 inches. That fits for a younger, inexperienced Sasquatch who's not careful where they walk and careless as to where they step. But why did they make themselves known so readily? I don't know. And was it a mere coincidence that at least one big black mountain panther was roaming the area at the same time? Was that coincidence, or were they connected? And then finally, there's that evidence of a mysterious creature. I don't know. You see, I don't have all the answers, but I do recognize that the unknown dwells in these mountains and these hills and hollers and these creek bottoms. And I understand that the classrooms for many is at the foot of ivory towers. But my classroom is out yonder in these hills where a lot of people are afraid to go at night. I appreciate all of you. God bless you.